Hi, I'm Michelle from Michelle's Romantic Tangle, and this is the fourth leg of my row by row road trip for 2019. We're going to start at Something to Crow About in Springfield, Oregon. They are tucked back into the corner of this little shopping center, so they can be hard to find, but it is worth it. They're blocked. Did you see that applique crow with the worm? If I make a quilt this year, it is going in it. This is one of my favorite quilt shops in my sort of local to me area. The store is just full of shop samples and applique and piecing and wool applique, and all of the samples have tags on them so you know where they're from. That's one of the quilts from this year's blocks. I have a lot of those that I have picked up for my collection. Always enjoy the chance to wander through the shop because so many of the quilts they have are the style of quilts that I love most. And there are crows in fitting with their name, there are crows everywhere. And who doesn't love crows, especially crows on quilts? There is so much in here that I would love to make, and I've bought a lot of patterns in here and have the plans to someday make them. Row by row is not about guilting yourself over the quilts you've bought patterns for but haven't already made. It's about supporting your local shops and looking for future inspiration. I don't know square footage wise how the shop compares with some of the others. It's big, but it is packed. They make great use of the space they have. And I could spend all day in here just drooling, getting inspired by fabric fumes. I love those crows in the tree. And more wool applique. I've never tried that, but I'm going to. And there's some of that great big rickrack. I bought some recently for project bags that I'm going to try just when I get a chance to catch my breath. Next up was Jean Marie's Fabrics, also in Springfield. As we were driving, I was worried about the parking situation because so many of the shops have parallel parking, but they've got a great parking lot. This is probably the most eclectic of the quilt shops I visited this year. Tons of notions, a huge variety of fabrics, and the shop has room after room, so make sure you check them all out. They had lots of patterns for awesome contemporary quilts, and look at that with the needles and the lines. It reminds me of the old writing paper we used in grade school. I think that fabric would make an awesome project bag. They had lots of contemporary novelty prints, lots of the fabulous Alexander Henry Halloween stuff, lots of Harry Potter. And then in this back room, that is gauze. I'm not familiar with it, but they had samples of what you can do with it. And I can't remember what. I needed D-rings for something recently, but they were too expensive at Joann's. And now I know where to find them at a good price if I ever manage to remember why I wanted them. They also have satin and I don't know if this would be costuming fabric. I don't own a fabric shop, so my terminology is not going to be accurate. Lace for wedding dresses. Like I said, this shop has a phenomenal quilting fabric and then an extensive selection of other stuff for dressmaking and costuming and I don't know what all else. It's a fun place to explore. And bright and cheerful and friendly. Lots of books, lots of contemporary, brand new patterns. And just look at this display of charm packs. I probably could have fallen in love with a dozen of those if I was not trying quite so hard to resist temptation. Our next stop was Paramount Sewing and Vacuum in Eugene. They are in a strip mall next to the UPS store and Subway, and they were hard to find. I got to the address and then actually had to call the store to ask where they were because my GPS had me way off. She was so excited about their row for this year, which is adorable, and it looks like it's one that won't be terribly intimidating or difficult to do. Like their Salem location, which I showed in one of the earlier videos, the store is mainly focused on sewing machines and embroidery machines and all of the gorgeous threads. I have never seen so many spools of beautiful color in my life. And they have an AccuQuilt selection, which you would think after all of the time I've spent in other shops on this row by row road trip looking at dyes, that I would have seen all of them, but I am still finding new ones I didn't know about that I would love to add to my collection. Our next stop was Piece by Piece Fabrics, also in Eugene. I love the building that this place is in. I love the windows, and I've been there before when they had the top of those Dutch doors open. Their block has got to be one of my absolute favorite blocks for this year's row by row, with that bee and the flowers. This is a fun store to wander through. They have lots of bright colors, lots of contemporary quilts, and they have quite a few quilts that were designed by one of the employees and are unique to this shop. When we get further on, I'll show you the one that I fell in love with and bought my mother for her birthday, which is coming up later this month. She's been saying she wanted to make a quilt with cogs and gears, and I found the perfect one. Then had to call and make sure she didn't already own it. She doesn't. And she'd never seen it before, so I did good. Lots of patterns for bags and lots of shop samples so you can see what you're going to be making. I love this ocean quilt. I bought the pattern earlier in the row by row, and I'm definitely going to make that. And I hope this year I'm actually going to make a row by row quilt. I still have not made a single block. Here's that quilt I bought for my mom. I will put the title in the description below along with the shop's information. I'm Michelle from Michelle's Romantic Tangle. Thank you so much for joining me